Welcome to the Real View podcast, where Ohio Realtors connect you to innovators and influencers, keeping you with the real view of real estate. Whether you're a broker, agent, first-time homebuyer, industry leader, or just happen to stumble upon our podcast today, you can expect to hear tips, tools, tricks, interesting information, and so much more from the experts in Ohio's real estate game. And welcome back to the Real View podcast. I am your host, Allison Wiley. Joining me today, he is no stranger to Ohio Realtors. He is a longtime partner with us. I know you have seen him at some of our events throughout the past few years. He's presented at a few of them. He's always there, as one of our favorite sponsors and talking to you all and engaging you all at our meetings as well. So I would like to welcome on our dear friend, James Jones. Welcome onto the show today.
Thank you, Allison, for having me.
Yes, we're so excited to be talking to you, to be learning a little bit more about you and what you do as commercial and home inspectors, who you are as a professional, how we can work together, and how we can grow this great partnership as realtors with our home inspectors. But before we get started on that, James, I would like to hear a little bit about you. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in your career?
Well, I come from really humble beginnings. My father was a master carpenter and his grandfather before him. So I started off very young as a carpenter, framing homes and doing work in commercial buildings. I mean, me and my brother were like 15, 16 years old, working summers and so on and so forth, all the way up until high school ended. And I just wanted to kind of go through a different process than my dad. And that's how I ended up in the home inspection industry, because we kind of started a construction company and kind of just dived into that really, really, really early. So that's where my background and expertise comes from. On the home front, I live in Powell. My son goes to Liberty High School. He'll be actually graduating this year. I'm excited about that. He'll be going to Bowling Green. My wife is actually a real estate agent, and so is my mom, and so is my stepfather. So a lot of realtors in the family. So we kind of have like those battles, playing Scrabble and stuff, and just battling with realtors. So it never ends for me. But yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love that. No, I always like hearing, kind of people's history and background. I think it gives a good insight into who they are and how they got to where they are today. And it sounds like it's always been a part of your life, right? So like, homes really well, from being in construction to being in a family with realtors. It sounds like, you've been super involved almost your whole life.
Yeah, it's been a good journey. I can't really say that anything negative. I mean, we're from flips to renovations to working on military bases and putting together commercial projects. All of that kind of teed up beginning to get into the home inspection industry. I mean, it feels like I've been training for this position my entire life. So I just really enjoy it. Meeting you meet a different client every day. Unlike realtors have to kind of run around and try to sell a house and they're showing different homes and things of that nature, or even commercial properties to that same buyer. And it may take a year to finally get someone across the finish line. It's a lot different for the property inspector. I mean, we're in and out of a property in, 2 to 3 hours, and we may never see that individual again. And so I like that process of something new every single day. It never gets boring.
Oh, I'm sure not. And I want to get into some crazy stories and things that you've seen and witnessed, in your career. I'm sure you have stories for days that I want to get to some of your favorite ones. But I do want to talk about your company, what you all do. And you are the founder and owner of Home Commercial Inspections. Tell us a little bit about your company, starting that, what that process is like, and a little bit about what you all do.
Well, we started the company in 2012. We have a 6-inspector team. We perform home inspections, your run-of-the-mill property inspection, where we would follow the state standard of practice and we would do your inspection to that standard. And then we would also have, your termite inspection, your mold inspection, all of your ancillary services from radon to sewer scope to maybe just gas line inspections, whatever that would need that buyer would need, because there's all different types of needs out there, from a VA to a FHA to a conventional loan. I mean, they're all unique, and every property is unique in that right. And then you would have your commercial property inspections, which we do a lot of. So we've really expanded in that market. We have school radon inspections that we're doing. We also have daycares and lead-based paint, multifamily, and then we're doing what you call property condition assessments, which are just very different from a building inspection. It's more you're following the ASTM standards, and you're kind of working with investors, and they're looking to know what their expenditures are going to be, of like maybe from year 1 to 5. How much money will I spend on this property, and can I turn a profit? So we're uniquely doing a lot of different things in this space, and again, really enjoy it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And congratulations on the growth and being around for a few years now. It's really cool to see everything that you've been able to accomplish. And, I mentioned in the beginning, your partnership with Ohio Realtors. You've been a great partner for us, a great sponsor for us, and we love having you guys around. Talk to us a little bit about why establishing this partnership like with Ohio Realtors and the people that you meet at our conferences, what that means to you and why that's been so important for you in your business.
It's a great partnership. It's a great, Ohio Realtors is a great organization. I'm a member of the Ohio Home Inspector Network, so that's been a great way to partner with the realtors to help inspectors to kind of bring other inspectors on the level to where realtors and inspectors can become partners and maybe help buyers in a different way, where we're kind of all on the same page, kind of just looking at things differently, and being more of an asset and less of an adversary. And also the trade shows and the events, and being able to build relationships with the realtors. That's been a good thing, because when people can see you and see that you're a person, and that you have a family too, and you're engaged in the community, then they're maybe more likely to treat you on the same page and have that professional relationship that everybody can kind of enjoy. That's what I've been looking for, and it's nice to see everybody. You talk to them on the phone, and they're scheduling appointments, but they're not necessarily seeing you. Not all realtors show up to their inspections. A lot of brokers don't want them to, so you may not get to see the agents that are scheduling inspections with you, and so you don't get a chance to meet them. But you see them at the expos, and you see them at the winter conference, and et cetera. So you get a chance to shake hands. You're holding conversations. You get a longer time to talk to individuals, because realtors can get really busy, especially in the summer months. And it's hard to have. I would love to have one-to-ones and coffees and lunch and things, and grow really, but individuals just don't have time. So relationship building is what I get out of being a part of Ohio Realtors.
Yeah, and we love having you there, and as one of our long-term partners and supporters, and we're glad to hear that you're enjoying it, because it's the same for us, and we really appreciate everything that you do for us, and for always being in our events and there with a smile on your face, and engaging and talking with our members. And you presented at our winter conference, right? I know you were part of
Absolutely.
that. Talk to us a little bit about being a presenter, not just a sponsor now, but now you're on stage talking to people. Talk to us about your experience, being a part of that, what that experience was like for you, and being on that side of things when it comes to the conferences.
Well, it was a awesome panel. From what I can tell, it was well received. We got a lot of positive feedback, so I was very excited about that. But again, I've been in business for almost 26 years now, and it's very important to be on the same page and have the same goal. The buyer has a goal to purchase a property, and make it to the end and then not have a financial strain. And the inspector's role in that, the realtor's role in that, the insurance role in that, everybody, the lender's role in that, everybody plays a part in that process. And if we can work together and be, again, a little bit more like partners instead of that adversarial relationship, then it just works better for everyone. And that's what that panel was about, building bridges and working together, knowing the do's and don'ts. I mean, we bought up some things with the ORC that realtors may not know. We had some awesome panelists. Julie brought up a lot of issues with, the things that inspectors don't know. Everybody has your unique way of how they operate their business. So just sharing some ways that we partner and engage and coach and teach each other in order to have that end goal, that success. That was what that panel was about, was making the buyer or the seller more prepared and also helping them have success.
Yeah, no, I think so, absolutely. And so those of you listening who were at our winter conference and were able to make it and listened in on that panel, I think that's exactly what it was. So thank you for being a part of that and for contributing. And you're right. I think it's like a true just learning experience, on both ends. Like you mentioned, realtors debunk some myths. You all debunk some myths, which we're going to talk about a little bit today, which I'm curious to hear what some of those are. But I think, that was just a great first step of, having those conversations, of getting those relationships started and, saying, hey, we all want the same goal. We all want the client that we're working with to have success in their home buying and selling process. So, I think when we keep that in mind, it's a really, really great mindset to have when you go into these types of situations. And you mentioned too, the different roles that everyone plays, right? During this home buying and selling process or commercial home buying and selling, there's a lot of different hands involved, right? It's never just a simple, easy thing. What is the role of a home inspector for you during your home buying and selling process? How would you say, define that role for us, or what do you see that role being for home inspectors during that process?
It's a unique balance between pointing out the defects and classifying them. So the ORC says that we're supposed to write the deficiency, the degree of the deficiency, what is that implication, and the impact. So when I think about that, I think about the buyer's going to purchase this. What are these defects? How are they going to impact them? And if they don't fix them, what is the implication? So if they don't fix those gutters, that could cause a foundation issue. If they don't fix that roof, that could cause some water damage inside or some mold. So again, what is the deficiency and the degree of the deficiency and the implication? And so for us, we need to figure those things out. And then it's about delivery. So once you are finished with that property inspection, you've ran through this entire home, you see all of these defects and deficiencies. How do you deliver that to the buyer in a manner in which say, hey, the next house could be worse. There is no perfect house. Here we have all of these issues. Do you have any family members that know about construction? Do you have a friend that's in construction? Do you know someone that can look at this with you possibly and say, hey, does your realtor most realtors have a toolkit of contractors that they can rely on and kind of build around. And so it goes back to that team. What team do you have we're at the finish line. We need to evaluate what we just did. We did an inspection. And how do we take the information that we have and process it and then say, now it's time to make a decision? And a calm decision, a factual decision, and not an emotional decision.
Yep.
So that's the property inspector plays a huge role in the process. And it's very important that role is as a partner with the other real estate professionals that they're working with.
Yeah, definitely. It really is just a full on partnership. And like I said, you guys are all in this together. We're all, wanting the best for our clients and making sure that, they're making the right decision, that could be the biggest one that they ever make in their lives. When you work with your clients and are doing inspections and things like that, what do you wish that client, that home buyers and sellers would know about inspectors? And I'm sure there's a lot, but is there a top or a most common thing that comes up that you're like, I wish people really knew this, or I wish people, really knew? What are some things, that you've seen from your end that you wish people knew more of?
Everything.
Yeah, all of it. All of
No,
it.
really, though. Construction can be overwhelming to those who, especially first time home buyers, they don't have an understanding of what you just found and how it goes together. And they can't tell the difference between something that's major and something that's a minor issue that could, what I would call like maintenance items or a honey-do list or something.
Yeah.
And so they really get worked up, and you'll deliver it. And sometimes I think that, man, I'll never hear from this person again. This is a great house. Here's your defects or your list of items that I found. And I'm just thinking that they'll get their tools out and fix that stuff. And then they panic and they overwhelm themselves with the details.
Yeah.
Or you find a house that has a lot of major issues and they can't tell the difference, and they do actually move into that particular house, and then they call you back later because they didn't understand the process of how to remedy those things and what the magnitude of it was. So it's a double-edged sword. I really wish people knew more about construction, just the basics, so they would be better prepared when they're going into that home buyer situation. But it took me a lifetime to get here. So we as property inspectors really just have to be more willing to educate. And at the end of the property inspection, we go through a walk around, and we try to educate them and show them the defects and say, hey, these are all the things. And one of the most unique things that I always struggle with individuals is heat pumps. Trying to explain to them that their inside air handler is just an air handler inside a furnace, and the actual condensing unit outside has a reversing valve in it, and it's a dual fuel system, and it has a heat pump out. I can never explain it in a manner which they can understand it. So it's that's the problem, and the answer is patience and really just trying to guide people in the right direction.
100%. And I think that's where, we're so similar, realtors and home inspectors. We are the guides, throughout the process. We're here, every step of the way. And if it's something you don't understand or something super hard to explain, that's the role that we play. And I think, there's more similarities with inspectors and realtors than we might think. And I think when we lean in on those similarities, that's when those partnerships can really grow. And you said something like, there's no perfect house, right? I mean, I think the number of people who think like they're going to get a perfect inspection, that you're never going to have to fix, one thing on a house, I think, that's important to note too, is that, these inspections happen for a reason. It's good to know, before you head into this decision, to really know what you're going to get into, and that there's no such thing as a perfect house. What are some challenges that you see when it comes to realtors and inspectors working together? And we talked a little bit about how to build those relationships and ways that we can kind of work together better. But what have you seen in your time that can be a challenge when it comes to us working together?
The biggest differences I see in a successful process is communication. I've been in it long enough now that I can almost tell the difference between a seasoned agent and maybe a new agent, or an agent that isn't as hands-on versus a one that's holding their buyer's hand all the way. And so if the inspector doesn't have a clear picture of who they're dealing with, the buyer just shows up. We don't have a residential property disclosure. We don't have a background. The buyer shows up with a van full of individuals, and everybody's inside of the house, and it's a disaster. Or they have background noise from a father-in-law or someone that bought a house 15 years ago, and things are way different now than 15 years ago, but they're giving them advice from 1980 or something. You know, and it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Um, and so it unravels, and the property inspector seems to take the blunt of that, because again, the realtor's not there, and all of these moving parts are working, and we're like, well, I'm not there to corral the people and be a site coach. I'm just there to give the defects, and then they're listening, and the dad's talking the whole time. He's actually doing the inspection,
Oh,
and
wow.
and it's just a lot going on. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Let me get this agent on the phone and say, hey, did you know that 15 people were going to show up to the house?
Oh my
And that the
gosh.
dad's here, and he's got tools, and he's actually taken it. Happened the other day. He's actually taken the outlet apart. We can't take the outlet apart. Like,
Oh
what's going
no.
on
It's like
here?
that's not your house yet.
And it's just chaos going on. So I can't even finish the inspection because I had to tell people to stop doing things. So yeah, it's definitely communication.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. And teeing up the client, preparing them for the process.
Yes.
And so we work really well with the realtors that work with us, that inform us of what's going to happen, shoot us an email, let us know, this is how you prepare for this particular client. Give you an example. Hey, you got a client showing up to the home inspection. His dad's an engineer, and his uncle's an engineer, and they're all going to be there. So I don't even know what inspector to put that on. That could mentally handle that type of
Right.
pressure. So it's very, communication is king.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's, the basis of a lot of relationships, having those open lines. And as you mentioned, like preparing your client on what to expect, I think can make so much of a difference too. And that's why, having these buyer representation agreements and these consultations that are happening now more and more, with realtors and their clients, and laying out everything on the table so that both parties are prepared, to walk into this process, and that they know everything. They know what to expect. They know how to work with, your home inspector. They know you can't start fixing stuff as the report is you're going through these walkthroughs and these inspections. I think you're right. Like having that all laid out, and keeping those open lines of communication is really key. How else have you seen really successful relationships work with realtors and their home inspectors? Because I know this is something that we've told and we've talked about on this podcast before, and you mentioned it as well. The importance of having that toolbox of people who assist. So having your home inspector, on speed dial, having your lender, ready to go, having those strong relationships. How else have you seen those strong relationships happen? And what have you seen on your end when a relationship is working really well? How does that kind of work?
A lot of the agents that we work well with are familiar with our reporting process and have seen our reports, and understand how to review our reports, so they're able to work with our clients. But what we'll do is they'll do follow-up calls. We'll talk to clients, do a three-way call. I like the three-way calls better than just being on the phone with the client by themselves, because you got to remember that there may be other noise going on in the background. I know I've said it a few times, but they may have seen another house that they want. I've had this happen, and they're afraid to be honest with the agent. And so I get on the phone with them, and I'm explaining the defects and stuff, and they're asking me questions that I'm unable to answer because it's not in my wheelhouse. I'm not an appraiser, so I don't know how much is this house worth, or they're asking me questions that have nothing to do with the defects. They just want out of that particular property because they want something that just came on the market that wasn't available at the time they made that offer, or whatever that case may be, of whatever scenario. And so now they're trying to figure a way out. That three-way call eliminates that. They have to bring honesty to the table, with their agent. And I'm just telling them the defects, and I'm explaining to them the issues. And again, we're working as a team. Me and the agent, we're working as a team. The lender may call and need a receipt, or for a VA inspection, for a termite, or what. We're all helping each other move through the process, and working as a team.
Yep, absolutely. That's, key, I think, in thinking about this is, we're all a team. We all, like I said, want our client to get the best and make the best decision, for them and what their hopes and dreams are. And when we work together, that's when the magic happens. And that's when everybody walks away happy, right? We all kind of need each other. We're all, in this together. And, when we're all collaborating at a great level, that's when that magic happens. What's your best bit of advice, or what advice would you give to realtors to better work with home inspectors and really strengthen those relationships?
Find you a home inspector that you can work well with. I'd take a page out of Julie's book, let everybody be a professional in their lane, but also know how to coach each other.
Yeah.
I have some realtors who have showed up to our inspections for a while. They don't show up anymore, but when they first got started, they showed up to the inspections because they didn't know much about construction. And so I was able to teach them about the homes, which ultimately made them better sales agents. When they go out to these houses, they know what those windows are, the different styles of windows or doors or what have you. And so they're able to broaden their knowledge. And so now they're a better sales agent because now they can look at these houses and if somebody asks them a hard question, they have an answer for it. Yeah, that's, I would definitely find someone that where you can help each other and that value comes to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great bit of advice, and always being able to, be wanting to learn and grow. And I think that's a great, something that, everyone should be looking into. Learn a little bit about construction. You have some downtime. I know realtors having downtime, LOL, right? But, when you are, finding those moments where you do have a little bit of time, educating yourself on this stuff, as you mentioned, that can make you such a stronger realtor and such a stronger advocate for your client. When you are more aware of some of these things, you can really help guide your client through it and make it a smoother process for all. I think that's a great bit of advice. And hopefully, because of people like you, James, we will keep having those strong relationships and keep, really coming together to work and make home happen and commercial happen for everyone. What's next for you and your company? Is there anything you're looking forward to this year? What can we expect from you all? Anything you're really excited about? What's coming up next for home and commercial inspectors?
Well, I'm excited about the conference this year. It's going to be in Cleveland.
Yes, yep, back in 216, so that's exciting.
So I'm a fan of Cleveland. So I can't wait till that. We'll get to see everyone again this year. Things that are on the new, we're always expanding our education base. So yeah, the guys are really studying. That's something that we do on a regular basis. We meet a few times a month, and we're helping each other. We're sharpening each other's tools and knowledge and just trying to get better, to better serve our clients. There's some things going on in the industry. For us, we're volunteering at a few places, so we do some volunteer work for homes for families. So we're out in the community. We're also doing a lot of stuff with Ohio Home Inspector Network as well. So Home and Commercial Inspections is a big sponsor and advocate for Ohio Home Inspector Network. So that's something that we're doing is education, training, helping other inspectors work better with realtors, and doing a lot of coaching. So full plate.
Yep. Full plate, full steam ahead. And it sounds like, you're kind of the perfect guy to be involved in all of this. And like I said, you've been our friend and our partner here at OR. And we really appreciate you and everything that you do for our industry. And thank you for just being yourself and having these conversations and bringing awareness to how we can all, work better together. I really appreciate it and appreciate all that you do for us.
Well, I really appreciate it, Allison. I enjoy everything that I can do to be a part of Ohio Realtors.
Absolutely. You're going to be with us for good. No, I'm just kidding. We appreciate your partnership and all that you do for us. And thank you for coming on and for this conversation today and for sharing a little bit more about you and what you do. I really enjoyed this. So I want to thank you again for your time. And to all of our listeners, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be back with you next week.
Thank you for listening to The Real View. That wraps up today's episode. You can keep up with the latest on the podcast at ohiorealtors.org/therealview. and on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Have questions, comments, or suggestions? We want to hear from you. Email us at podcast@ohiorealtors.org. We'll see you next time.